Okay, I must admit today's dish is a bit of a gimmick, but I would love to share this recipe with you because it really brings me back to my childhood. I used to make it as a kid quite a lot. Some of you might not believe me, but I actually started cooking at quite a young age, around the age of 4. I used to be able to cook my own breakfast, like spam and eggs, and I can make my own noodles, relatively simple stuff. And I had to attend a party one time, and I just came up with this dish in my head, and I asked the childminder at the time to kind of help me alongside with building this dish. As a kid, I thought it was the most original thing ever, and I didn't know it's been done. But back then, it was a Coca-Cola chicken wing dish. I remember shallow frying it with minimal oil for safety reasons. My mum taught us to be independent at quite a young age, so I was able to cook or even chop things quite early on. And I guess that's why cooking is my hobby now, because I've been doing it for, quite some time now. Okay, without further ado, let's crack on. So the prices are based on Aldi and Sainsbury's, so a bit of a mix, and ingredients without prices next to them are ingredients that I presume will be at everyone's household or it's very optional. Okay, here we go. 3 pieces of skinless chicken thighs. So according to the book, The Science of Cooking, they actually mentioned that if you're just trying to add flavour to the meat, it doesn't actually matter whether you salt it beforehand or during cooking. However, the hygroscopic properties of salt, which means salt has a tendency to absorb moisture from air, it enhances the texture of your meat. Now, how does it do that? So within minutes of salting your meat, the salt draws the moisture out of your meat and it combines together to form a brine. And in just about 15 minutes, your salt basically starts to diffuse into the meat, pulling the water with it. Therefore, this brine actually denatures the protein and causes them to unwind, which softens and tenderizes the chicken. So here are the key spices to the sauce, but later on in the video, you can see that I've added some extra something just to oomph up the flavour, but that's completely optional. If you're looking for a healthy recipe, I'd probably click off this video because we will be using quite a bit of oil. And some corn flour. If the final glaze is not sweet enough for you, you can add some honey or brown sugar. Ta-da! The essence of this recipe. You know what? Go ahead, just buy a can. I only bought these because it looked good for a picnic and obviously looks really good for the photo. And here's a brief cinematic summary of our ingredients. Okie dokie, so I am crushing and I'm finely chopping 2 cloves of garlic. If you prefer a finer texture, you can mince it as well. Once you're done, dump it in a bowl and get your ginger ready. I think I've mentioned this before, the older the ginger, the spicier it is. So here I am, de-skinning the ginger. You can use a peeler. I just find it a bit easier to chop it off the side. However, I really wouldn't waste the skin of the ginger because you can make some really bomb ginger, honey, lemon tea. Meant to be really good for your throat. My mum used to make me that whenever I have cold or flu. Not too sure how scientific that is, but I'm really liking the placebo effect though, and the taste. As you can see here, I am directly mincing the ginger into the bowl just to conserve every single drop of the ginger juice. If you have this kind of grater, I basically like to get the ginger inside where I just grated and mince the ginger and then scrape everything out. If you roll the lemon with some pressure before juicing it, it makes the juicing process a lot smoother. So just half a lemon, we probably won't be using all of it anyway. And the leftovers, well, you can make that ginger honey lemon tea that I spoke about. Alrighty, grab a dish and add 2/4 cups of corn flour. You really don't have to be precise with this. The whole point is just to cover the meat evenly. So the corn flour will make the chicken a little bit crispier. I prefer this because a batter is way too heavy for this recipe. I mean, it's not like it's healthy anyway, but still. Okay, heat to 1/2 cup of vegetable oil. Please don't use Greek olive oil, it's such a waste. And heat it up on medium-high heat. I've decided to prep my final dish while the oil's heating up. Just found a wooden bowl, added some baking paper. It looked all rusticy and pan-Asian type. Very Instagrammable, you know? Also, grab another bowl or container, line it with some kitchen paper. When your chicken's ready, you can just place them there. If you have watched my previous video, you'll understand the power of chopsticks. You can see the bubbles forming around the chopsticks right now. That's when you know the oil is hot enough. So now you can slowly add your chicken one by one into the pan. Please be very careful. So the length of frying obviously depends on the size of the chicken pieces. I just let mine brown for about 2 minutes on each side, and then for the remaining 2 minutes at the very end, I just continuously flip it until both sides golden and not burnt. The best way to test whether or not it's cooked is just to cut one open and see if it's cooked. So when they're ready, you can place them into the lined container just to absorb any extra oil, to make them less greasy, mainly for texture rather than, healthy side of things. And moving on to the sauce, let's crack open our essence, Coca-Cola. It was such a satisfying feeling that I had to do it twice. Now you also need an extra pan, so a separate pan. I wanted to use a wok, but unfortunately my boyfriend doesn't have a wok at his place. So don't waste the previous oil. I'll just add about a tablespoon of the already cooked oil into this pan. Bear in mind that the oil is already cooked, so it's going to heat up a lot quicker. This time have your wok or pan on high heat. This time you don't need to wait for the pan to be scorching hot. Once it's warmed, which should be relatively quickly because the oil is already cooked, add your ginger and garlic mixture and then let them saute for a minute or so until you can just smell the fragrance. And then you can add in your Coca-Cola. It takes about 10 minutes for a lot of the water to evaporate. So whilst we wait, let's spice up the sauce with a bit of salt. I added some mixed spice, pepper, and 2 tablespoons worth of soy sauce. You do have to continue to keep tasting the sauce throughout because it is a personal preference. I forgot to mention, don't vigorously stir your sauce during the waiting process. Just paddle along like this. Now you can see the sauce has reduced to the thickness that I want, and I know this because it looks like Moses is trying to separate the Red Sea. Okay, at this stage you can add the lemon juice. Again, slowly add it. I would say about a teaspoon worth to start off, and then keep tasting it to your liking. So I didn't add the lemon juice earlier because that's just extra moisture that needs to be evaporated. So this is a good stage to add your sweetener if you want. I would start off with about 2 teaspoons worth of honey or sugar, and then again keep tasting it. Now that we have the perfect glaze, you can actually turn the heat off and then add your chicken. You really don't want to leave the chicken in there for too long. I would say about 30 seconds or so is max. Otherwise, it's going to caramelize way too much. It's going to taste burnt and your chicken's going to be soggy. If you like your spicy food, I would recommend you to add some chili flakes right now. I just opt for paprika because I'm a bit of a wuss when it comes to spicy food. I still want that bit of colour and that oomph I spoke about earlier. Alrighty, dress to impress. This is the part for the gram, guys. So get your rusticy looking pan Asian bowl and then garnish your dish with some, paprika for me, a little bit of redness, and then you can sprinkle some sesame seeds on top. I've decided to garnish it with some mint leaves just because it's lying around in my boyfriend's kitchen. We don't have coriander and I really don't want to buy coriander just to garnish the dish. And finish it off with some lemon zest. I really highly recommend this because it honestly brings out so much freshness to this dish. And here you have it, a Coca-Cola glazed chicken dish. Why did I say is a bit gimmicky? Because it honestly, to me, it just tastes like that sweet and sour chicken we have in Cantonese style. Not the ones you get in takeaway, but the ones that we use a black vinegar. It honestly tastes really, really similar, but you're just using Coke. I feel like I have to finish the video explaining why I decided to use chicken thighs, just because my Asian friends, if you're with me on this, comment below. We don't really eat chicken breasts. It's just so dry and bland. Chicken thigh is the way to go. If you have enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate a like and a subscribe, and maybe I'll do an iron brew chicken next.